In January 2025, an explosive exchange unfolded between Hugh Grant, renowned actor and media reform advocate, and Piers Morgan, the controversial journalist and former editor of the News of the World and the Daily Mirror. What started as a seemingly innocuous exchange about media ethics quickly escalated into a powerful public rebuke that has reverberated across social media and sparked renewed conversations about press accountability, integrity, and the role of media moguls in shaping the public narrative. This takedown, in which Grant delivers an eloquent rebuttal to Morgan's accusations, has been hailed as a masterclass in integrity. It's a clash of ideals. On one side, Hugh Grant, an outspoken critic of the press and a staunch advocate for ethical journalism. On the other, Piers Morgan, a journalist whose career has been marked by sensationalism and controversies tied to Murdoch's empire. But more than just an exchange of words, this moment represents a broader commentary on the need for transparency in the media and the ongoing battle against unethical practices that continue to plague the industry. To understand the significance of this epic takedown, we first need to consider the backdrop against which it unfolded. The Leveson inquiry, initially set up in the wake of the News of the World phone hacking scandal, was intended to examine the culture, practices, and ethics of the British press. While the inquiry concluded with calls for greater regulation and oversight, many critics, including Hugh Grant, have argued that the reforms were insufficient and that the press continues to operate with little to no accountability. In early 2025, the UK government made a controversial decision to drop the reopening of the Leveson inquiry. For Grant, this decision was a grave disappointment. As someone who has long campaigned for media reform, he saw this as an opportunity lost, a chance to further investigate and address the unethical practices that continue to plague the British press. In the wake of this announcement, Grant took to social media to express his concerns. His tweet read, "The government's decision to drop the Leveson inquiry reopening is a betrayal of press freedom and a victory for the media moguls who have long operated above the law." The tweet quickly gained traction, resonating with those who, like Grant, have seen firsthand the devastating consequences of unethical media practices. Enter Piers Morgan, a figure who has been at the center of some of the most heated media battles in recent decades. Known for his controversial takes on nearly every subject and his ties to Rupert Murdoch's media empire, Morgan has often found himself at odds with Grant, particularly on issues related to press freedom and the regulation of media outlets. Morgan quickly responded to Grant's critique, accusing him of hypocrisy. Morgan pointed out that Grant had previously worked with Murdoch-owned companies, including the Sun newspaper, and argued that his criticism of the press now seemed disingenuous. According to Morgan, Grant couldn't claim to be an advocate for ethical journalism when he had benefited from the very system he was now condemning. This accusation was particularly pointed because of Grant's well-documented history of activism against media wrongdoing, including his involvement in the Hacked Off campaign. Hacked Off is an organization dedicated to ensuring that media organizations are held accountable for breaches of privacy and other unethical practices. Grant's involvement with the campaign, along with his vocal calls for press reform, has made him a target for those who see his views as naive or hypocritical. However, it was clear from the outset that Morgan's accusation was an attempt to derail Grant's message. Morgan, whose career has often been linked to sensationalism, was hoping to discredit Grant's call for reform by framing it as a matter of personal hypocrisy. But Morgan underestimated Grant's resolve and his ability to articulate a response that would resonate with the public. What followed was nothing short of a masterclass in public rebuttal. Grant, unfazed by Morgan's accusations, took to Twitter to address the claim head-on. He wrote, "I haven't worked with a Murdoch-owned company since 1994, and I've spent the last 2 decades fighting for press regulation and accountability. I'm not the one who's spent my career cozying up to media moguls. Let's talk about ethical journalism, Piers." In his response, Grant made 2 important points. First, he corrected the record regarding his past collaborations with Murdoch-owned companies, pointing out that his last significant collaboration was in the early 90s. This was a strategic move designed to distance himself from any accusations of benefiting from unethical media practices. Second, Grant called out Morgan's failure to address the core issue at hand, the need for media accountability. By focusing on Grant's past, Morgan had shifted attention away from the broader discussion about the role of the press in modern society and its responsibility to uphold the public good. Grant's response refocused the debate, making it clear that his criticism was not about personal grudges or past associations but about the need for systemic change in the media industry. The public's response to this exchange was swift and overwhelmingly supportive of Grant. On social media, users rallied behind the actor's call for press reform and decried Morgan's attempt to deflect attention from the issue at hand. The hashtag #GrantTakesDownMorgan quickly began trending as people shared their support for Grant's stance on media ethics. Many noted that Morgan's response was classic deflection, a tactic frequently employed by those with vested interests in maintaining the status quo. By attempting to discredit Grant personally, Morgan had only drawn attention to his own ties to powerful media moguls and his own history of defending questionable practices within the media industry. The public saw through this strategy, and Grant emerged from the exchange with his reputation as a champion of ethical journalism firmly intact. To truly understand the weight of this confrontation, it's important to examine the role of Rupert Murdoch and his media empire in shaping public discourse. Murdoch's companies, The Sun, The Times, and The Sunday Times, have long been known for their sensationalist approach to news, often blurring the lines between journalism and entertainment. Under Murdoch's leadership, these outlets have been embroiled in numerous scandals, including phone hacking, bribery, and other unethical practices. Hugh Grant's long-standing battle against these practices has made him a vocal critic of Murdoch's media empire. His involvement with Hacked-Off and his legal actions against tabloids like the News of the World have put him at odds with media moguls like Murdoch, who has been accused of using his outlets to manipulate public opinion and protect powerful interests. Morgan, who has been closely associated with Murdoch, has often been criticized for his role in perpetuating this system of media manipulation. His defense of Murdoch's media empire, coupled with his own sensationalist tendencies, has earned him the ire of those who believe that the press should serve the public interest rather than the interests of the powerful. Beyond his public takedown of Morgan, Grant's advocacy for media reform has included a bold call for a criminal investigation into the practices of The Sun and other Murdoch-owned outlets. In light of recent legal settlements, including Prince Harry's lawsuit against the News of the World, Grant has argued that a full investigation is necessary to uncover the full extent of the wrongdoing within these organizations. Grant's call for a criminal investigation highlights his belief that civil suits alone are insufficient to hold media organizations accountable. While legal settlements provide compensation to those harmed by unethical practices, they do little to address the systemic issues that enable such behavior. By advocating for a criminal probe, Grant is calling for a deeper examination of how these media giants operate and whether they have broken the law in pursuit of profit. At its core, the Hugh Grant-Piers Morgan confrontation is about much more than two public figures squabbling over media ethics. It's about the ongoing battle for the soul of the press and the need for accountability in an age where media conglomerates hold unprecedented power. As Grant has pointed out, the press plays a crucial role in shaping public opinion, and it is essential that media organizations are held to the highest ethical standards. This showdown between Grant and Morgan is a reminder that the fight for media reform is far from over. While some may seek to distract from the issues by resorting to personal attacks, the truth remains: the press must be held accountable for its actions, and powerful media moguls must be made to answer for their role in perpetuating corruption and misinformation.